A guy brought his 2019 Ram into the shop last month with a dead battery, a fried starter module, and rust forming under the driver's seat. Turned out his panoramic sunroof had been leaking since the day he bought it off the lot. The drain hoses were disconnected at the factory, and that is just one of 10 design flaws Ram does not want you to know about. Number 1. The active grille shutter system. Behind the front grille of most Ram 1500 trucks with the 8-speed transmission, there is a set of motorized louvers that open and close depending on how much cooling the engine needs. When the electric actuator motor fails or water corrodes the connector pins, the shutters get stuck closed and your radiator loses all airflow. The engine temperature climbs, especially when towing in the summer. And here is the scary part. Below 40 degrees outside, the system assumes the shutters are just frozen and will not throw a check engine light, so you could be driving around with a blocked radiator and have no idea. The dealer wants $1,000 to $2,000 to replace the shutter assembly, but a company called CFT Performance sells a delete kit for about $5 that tricks the actuator into thinking the shutters are moving. You lose maybe 1% to 4% fuel economy on the highway, but you completely eliminate the overheating risk. But a $5 fix is nothing compared to the next one, because this flaw can destroy parts that cost thousands and you will never see it coming. Number 2. The panoramic sunroof drain system. If you are shopping for a 5th generation Ram 1500 with the dual-pane panoramic sunroof, you need to look underneath the truck before you buy it. The sunroof uses 4 drain hoses that run down through the pillars of the cab. On a lot of 2019 models, those rear drain grommets came from the factory already popped out of their mounting holes, with the tubes just hanging loose between the cab and the bed. Every rainstorm sends water straight down the inside of the pillars, soaking wiring harnesses and shorting out electronic modules. One owner traced a kinked drain hose to water frying the wiring at the base of the door. Another had the starting module burn out twice in 16,000 miles. Ram extended the warranty on cracked rear window frames to 8 years and 150,000 miles on 2019 through 2021 models. Because of this, prevention is completely free. Check those drain connections at purchase and pour a bottle of water into each drain to make sure it flows. Those first 2 problems sneak up on you quietly. This next one is the opposite. You are going to hear it loud and clear every single morning. Number 3. Exhaust manifold bolts on the 5.7-liter Hemi. This might be the single most common mechanical failure on any Hemi Ram ever built. The exhaust manifolds are cast iron, the cylinder heads are aluminum, and the bolts are steel. 3 metals that expand at 3 different rates every time the engine heats up and cools down. After thousands of those cycles, the bolts fatigue and snap. The rear bolts on each manifold go first, and the manifolds can warp up to 1/8 of an inch, stressing the remaining fasteners even more. You will hear it as the famous Hemi tick at cold startup, a ticking that fades as the engine warms and the metal expands to close the gap. First failures show up around 30,000 miles on the passenger side and become almost guaranteed by 100,000. If the bolts come out cleanly, the repair runs $200 to $500 per side. If they snap flush and need extraction, the cost is $800 to over $3,000. The permanent fix is aftermarket shorty headers from BBK or JBA for $300 to $600 plus installation. Broken bolts are bad enough, but the next problem on this list created so many failures that entire companies were built just to fix it. Number 4, the Totally Integrated Power Module, or TIPM. If you own a 2007 through 2018 Ram truck, you have a totally integrated power module under the hood. Chrysler soldered the relays directly onto the circuit board to save money, and that decision created one of the biggest reliability nightmares in Ram history. The fuel pump relay is the #1 failure because it runs constantly while the truck is on. When it fails open, the truck cranks but will not start. When it sticks closed, the fuel pump runs non-stop with the key off, draining your battery and creating a fire risk. The 2011 through 2013 model years are the worst. An estimated 7 million Chrysler vehicles were affected, but Ram trucks never got a recall. Only the Durango and Grand Cherokee did, even though they use the exact same part. A dealer replacement runs $1,200 to $1,600, but a bypass cable from Vertical Visions costs $30 to $60 and takes 5 minutes to install. A full rebuild from TIPM Rebuilders runs about $265 with upgraded components. The TIPM can leave you stranded. But this next one can destroy your entire engine, and the warning signs are hiding in a spot you have probably never looked at. Number 5. The Hemi water pump. Every 5.7 liter and 6.4 liter Hemi uses a belt-driven water pump bolted to the timing chain cover. The bearings and seals are lubricated only by the coolant itself. Here is what almost nobody checks. The pump housing has 2 small weep holes built in as early warning indicators. A small black stain at the weep hole is normal. Thick white or green crusty deposits trailing down from that hole mean the shaft seal has failed and the pump needs to come off now. If the primary weep hole gets clogged, coolant escapes through the secondary one, collects in the engine valley, and runs out the back of the engine looking exactly like a leaking core plug. Even some mechanics misdiagnose this. Failures have been documented as early as 7,000 miles. Forum data shows clusters between 20 and 80,000 miles, and one owner went through 3 pumps in 100,000 miles on his 2016 Ram. When a pump seizes on the highway, you can overheat the engine within minutes. Warped heads, blown gaskets, and coolant contaminating the oil will destroy the bottom end. A replacement Hemi long block runs $8,000 to $15,000 installed, the do-it-yourself. Fix is $150 to $275 and takes about 2 hours. Replace the pump, throw in a new thermostat, a fresh serpentine belt, and new coolant while you are in there. At a dealer, you are looking at $650 to over $1,000. A lot of forum members also recommend checking the fan clutch while the pump is out, because an imbalanced fan clutch puts extra stress on those pump bearings and accelerates wear. Check that weep hole every oil change and budget for a preventive replacement around 80,000 miles. If you are finding this helpful so far, hit subscribe. We cover Ram maintenance tips every week to help you keep your truck on the road and out of the shop. The water pump at least gives you warning signs if you know where to look. This next problem gives you almost none, and the factory maintenance schedule is the reason it catches people off guard. Number 6. Transfer case fluid neglect on 4-wheel drive models. The transfer case on a Ram 4-wheel drive truck holds only about 1.5 to 2 quarts of fluid with no filter. That tiny amount gets churned constantly every time you drive. Despite that, the factory maintenance schedule lists the fluid change at 120,000 miles for normal driving. The schedule says inspect at 30,000, but there is no dipstick and no sight glass. Inspecting means crawling under the truck and pulling a plug, which nobody does unprompted. Every independent transmission shop recommends changing this fluid at 30,000 miles maximum. If you tow or plow snow, drop that to 15 to 20,000. The Ram 1500 uses the BW44 series transfer case with a wet clutch system that is extremely sensitive to fluid quality. When the fluid breaks down, you get hard shifting between drive modes, a whine between 40 and 50 miles per hour, and eventually the chain stretches or jumps a sprocket. A transfer case replacement runs $2,000 to $8,000. A rebuild is $1,800 to $3,000. The fluid change takes 15 to 30 minutes and costs $15 to $40 doing it yourself. Even at a dealer, a full 4-wheel drive service runs $500 to $900. Spend $40 now or $8,000 later. And while you are under there, change the front and rear differential fluid too. Same neglect, same consequences, and the total cost for all 3 fluid changes is under $100 doing it yourself. While you are worrying about what is under the truck, this next system is bolted to the front of the engine and you cannot get rid of it no matter how much you want to. Number 7. The Uconnect Mild Hybrid System. Starting in 2019 and mandatory on every Ram 1500 engine from 2023 onward, the eTorque system replaces the traditional alternator with a 48-volt, belt-driven motor generator unit. The motor generator bearings fail early, with documented cases as low as 10,000 miles, and clusters between 20,000 and 45,000 miles. When those bearings seize, the unit can shear apart internally. One owner's motor generator seized at highway speed and caught fire. The 48-volt battery pack fails between 50,000 and 80,000 miles, and when it goes, the truck can lose all power while driving. One owner's $71,000 truck went completely dark on a highway in Alaska, 260 miles from the nearest town. You cannot delete this system without swapping the entire engine harness for about $8,500. The emissions warranty does cover the motor generator and battery for 8 years or 80,000 miles, so make sure you use it before it expires. Losing power on the highway is terrifying, but imagine your truck slowing itself to a crawl in the middle of traffic and you cannot override it. That is exactly what happens with this next one. Number 8. The DEF system on Cummins diesel trucks. The diesel exhaust fluid system on 2013 and newer Cummins Ram trucks injects a urea solution into the exhaust to reduce emissions. When any part of the system fails, whether it is the DEF heater, pump, injector, quality sensor, or either of the 2 NOx sensors, the truck enters a progressive speed limiting countdown. After the countdown expires, it is hard limited to 5 miles per hour. A basic scanner cannot reset it, and you need dealer-level tools. The DEF pump costs $1,800 to $2,500. Each NOx sensor runs $600 to $2,000. Total emissions repair exposure on a high-mileage Cummins can exceed $9,000. For prevention, only use certified DEF and check the expiration date. A tip from the forums: replacing the crankcase ventilation filter at the scheduled 67,500-mile interval has cleared false NOx sensor codes on multiple trucks, saving owners $600 or more. The DEF system punishes you for a sensor failure. This next one punishes you every single day by randomly doing things you never asked it to do. Number 9. The Uconnect infotainment system. The touchscreen in your Ram controls the radio, navigation, climate, backup camera, heated seats, and vehicle settings. When it malfunctions, the problems go way beyond a frozen screen. The 8.4-inch units from 2017 through 2020 have a gel adhesive that dries out and cracks from temperature changes. This causes ghost touching, where the screen registers phantom inputs. The truck will randomly change radio stations, blast the heat, and even make phone calls from your contact list. The 12-inch screen on newer Limited, Longhorn, and Rebel models is prone to complete blackouts and constant rebooting. Some owners have needed 3 or more radio replacements on the same truck. The worst part is parasitic battery drain. A failing Uconnect module can draw 2 to 5 amps instead of the normal 0.03 of an amp. One 2020 Ram 3500 with dual batteries went completely dead at least 10 times in 14 months. The dealer wants $1,000 to $1,500 for a replacement radio. An aftermarket screen for the 8.4-inch unit runs $80 to $200 for a much better gel-free version. A possessed touchscreen is annoying, but when your trailer brakes do not work while hauling 10,000 pounds down a mountain grade, that is a safety issue. Number 10. The Factory Integrated Trailer Brake Controller. Ram's built-in trailer brake module integrates with the truck's ABS and stability control, which sounds great on paper. In practice, a lot of heavy towing owners find it does not provide enough stopping power. Multiple owners measured only about 7 volts at the trailer connector, when the maximum should be closer to 12 volts. That is roughly a third of the braking force the system should deliver. In February of 2026, a recall was issued covering over 456,000 Ram trucks for a trailer tow module that can cause complete failure of trailer brakes, brake lights, and turn signals. Over 312,000 of those are Ram 1500 trucks. A lot of experienced towers install an aftermarket controller like the Taikansha Prodigy P3 for $100 to $200, even on trucks with the factory system. That gives you full manual control and the stopping power the factory module should have provided from day one. Those are 10 factory design flaws that quietly cost Ram owners thousands of dollars every year. The good news is that most of them are preventable with simple maintenance, or fixable with affordable aftermarket parts. If you want to see 5 factory settings that also destroy your Ram truck over time, that video is on screen now.